So I'm kind of asking tonight, can we trust the G7 on anything? And by the way, folks, I went to a number of G7 meetings, interacted with these world leaders. Nothing what I said is personal. Please understand that. But the policy differences are very wide. And my question now to John Ratcliffe is, can they be trusted to back us on foreign policy? China, Russia, the Middle East, Israel, anything. John Ratcliffe is a former House member from Texas. He's also a former director of national intelligence. He is now National Security Chair of the America First Policy Institute. John, thank you ever so much. From your perch,
Great to see you, Larry.
I need to talk to you for an hour straight. Actually, we'd do that on the radio where we got plenty of time. But in all seriousness, sir, can we, the G7 has a foreign policy. And I guess my question is whether it's Russia, China, Israel, can we trust them? Should we trust them on anything?
Well, you made a great point earlier, Larry. I mean, it's a great G7 if you speak German, French, or Italian. Those world leaders are thrilled. They want to go back to the status quo. They want to go back to agreements where the United States pays the lion's share, but the citizens of those countries get the lion's share of the benefits. And that, as you know, Larry, is the one thing that President Trump didn't like. He was for getting along with other countries, but they should look out for their citizens and we should look out for ours. And so, I think they're thrilled to go back to sort of business as usual where the United States gets in these bad deals. And for that same reason, I think that we have to be skeptical about, what the G7 is willing to do. You correctly pointed out, Larry, that, when it comes to China, for instance, those countries are only going to be so tough because they're so reliant. It's not just Germany, but Italy, France, even the UK have taken hundreds of billions of dollars in direct investment from China. Their economies are so reliant on China that's why you see, sometimes just empty rhetoric without actions to back it up. And, I think that's, unfortunately, we saw the same thing from Joe Biden coming out of this. He said, listen, I think that China should start to act more responsibly with respect to, for instance, human rights. Larry, the Chinese government was a direct and proximate cause of 4 million people dying so far as a result of the Wuhan virus. We shouldn't start with pretty please, and we wouldn't be doing that.
The question is
under the prior president.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. Trump used to acknowledge America first, and then he would say he understands why they would place their interests first.
And they should.
But to try to dupe us into saying things that they don't believe in, which I fear is what they did to Biden. But come back, Mr. Ratcliffe, come back to China. What exactly did the G7 do about China besides pledge some goofball, build better now infrastructure for less developed countries? Other than that, there's no penalty for either the virus, right, or their trade policies, or human rights, or Hong Kong. What'd they do? What did the G7 do?
They did absolutely nothing. And to your point, Larry, this Build Back Better world is the G7. Other world leaders love that. Joe Biden took a campaign slogan of his and puts it on a G7 initiative. You know what that means? That means the United States is expected to pay the lion's share and run with that program, and it'll pass or fail based on the efforts of the United States, who will be expected to pay for that. So they'll sit back and they're happy to have Joe Biden put a Green New Deal into a Build Back Better world program. But to your point about China, those countries have not been tough on China. I don't expect that they will be, again, for economic reasons. And unfortunately, again, our own country with this administration has been strong on rhetoric, but short on actions. And if that continues, we won't get the answers. I mean, Mike Pompeo and I have talked about this a lot. The intelligence that you're starting to see on the Wuhan virus is intelligence that we put out in January about people getting sick at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The evidence is pretty clear that we've gone from probability to almost a certainty when it comes to a lab leak. And the current administration should be pushing with us with regard to getting answers on that. And right now, they're just talk and no action.
We had a great visit with Mike and his wife last week at dinner and talked at some length about this. He's been a great leader on the China story. He'll be on the program this week, as you are, John. I just want, you know what it is? It's like, what exactly? China, by the way, will not pay higher taxes. They will not. Their tax rates are lower than ours, and under Biden and under this G7 nonsense will be still lower. China, John Ratcliffe, is the biggest polluter in the world. We just got the newest data on world carbon emissions. China has shot back up into the lead. They're not going to pay any mind to this Paris Climate Accord.
Well, Larry, they've already put out a statement immediately after the G7 basically saying, we don't care what you think. You are irrelevant. Now, they didn't put those statements out when we were in the prior administration. They didn't have diplomats come to our own soil in Anchorage, Alaska, like happened a few months ago, and basically tell off our top diplomats. That's because, rhetoric without someone who's willing to stand up and back it up with sanctions and tariffs and show that he means business don't mean anything. And right now, this administration hasn't shown that they're anything besides rhetoric when it comes to China.
Another thing is pathetic. I got to get out, John, but again, we'll go a half hour on the radio, I promise. We'll get some great stuff done. But most of Europe opposes the Nord Stream 2, the Russian gas pipeline. We stopped it. So, most of Europe agrees with us, except Germany, for reasons of their own. But nothing of that surfaced. The EU has formal resolutions against it. But the woman who's the president of the EU said nothing. Macron said nothing. Draghi said nothing. I mean, boy, there's cowardice inside the EU. Not just with duplicity with us, but cowardice inside the EU.
Yeah, absolutely. They won't stand up to Angela Merkel, who is, as you said, the only one that wants that. And again, they're also not standing up to Russia. Again, they've got this rhetoric, but that they're giving Vladimir Putin the one thing that he wants. I mean, let's face it, Vladimir Putin's had a pretty good year. He's 3-0 just when it comes to pipelines right now. So, and who knows what's going to happen in this Geneva meeting, moving forward. But, we'll see what happens there.
All right. You'll come back. I hope you'll come back on this show and help us to assess the Putin stuff later.
You bet.
And then I definitely want you on the radio as a distinguished former director of national intelligence, folks, Mr. John Ratcliffe.
Great to see you, Larry. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.